Good morning. So today I'm going to go over hooks, and this is what the agenda looks like for class. So the first thing you're going to do is obviously you're watching this video and listen to me talk about the different types of hooks. Then you are going to go to slide 6 or page 6 in your digital or paper notebook, and I want you to identify what is the hook in the example paragraph. So on this slide 6 in here, you're going to highlight where and how much is the hook. Then when you have finished that, you will develop 3 of your own types of hooks. They cannot be the same. For instance, you could write a hook that's a question. You cannot write 3 different questions. You would have to choose 3 different styles of writing a hook. When you're finished, you're going to need to submit 2 of those hooks in Schoology in the assignment posted. Then if there's any time left, you will just continue researching and reading over your articles that you have pinned in Diigo, identifying what is the evidence that you're going to use as we begin to write our essays. So let's talk about all the different types of hooks. So in your notebook, you will see that I have highlighted 4 different types. So these are the 4 main types of hooks that you're going to be able to try out today. So you're going to start your introduction. So the very first paragraph is called the introduction, with a sentence that obviously is getting your reader interested in the topic. That's the point of a hook. Okay, you want to engage them and keep them on that roller coaster in the analogy that I used in some of your classes. Okay, so 4 of the main options are as follows. You could give a quote, and a quote is by someone famous or notable. And you give me word for word what they say, and you say who said it, okay? Second is a personal story or anecdote. So if you've gone through something that relates to your topic, then you would write like a mini story informing your reader about that experience. Then you would have a surprising statistic or a bold statement, which is strong and, like I said, surprising to a reader that it makes your reader go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay. It has to have that impact, that effect. And then you could also do an interesting series of questions. They shouldn't be yes or no questions. They shouldn't be boring questions. They need to absolutely be interesting. So those are the 4 main kinds. However, I am going to talk about some additional ones and elaborate on these 4 main ones. So looking at this slideshow, you'll see there are 6 on here. So there are 2 additional ones that I did not put on the slide. So you could use, and one of those is figurative language. Now, this is a little bit more of a challenging hook, but if you are up for the challenging, you could use a simile, a metaphor, imagery, any of those types of figurative language to start out your essay and grasp your reader's attention. You can use a definition, especially if you're doing something with rights, racism. Give me a strong, bold definition that catches the reader's attention as well, okay? And then the other 3 down here are ones, and this red one are the ones that I just already highlighted. But let's talk about it a little bit more in detail. So you want to make your writing a page turner. So that lead, the beginning or introduction, establishes where you're going. Where are you going to take your audience? And you don't want them to let go. So again, going back to that analogy of being strapped in with that metal bar and that harness on the roller coaster so you don't fall out, and you want your audience to stay with you, okay? So hooking a reader when you're writing an essay is kind of like important as a movie trailer for it to be successful. You want to give a little bit of the content so that they buy the ticket, but you don't want to give it all away, okay? So again, this presentation is going to highlight some of those types of introductions so that you can grasp their attention and get them to buy the ticket to your movie, essentially your essay, okay? Now, there's some rules I want you to remember. In your introduction, you have to have at least a minimum of 3 things. 1, your hook, which is getting your reader's attention. You're presenting your argument with its reasons, and you are making that connection with your audience. And you're going to do those things through developing a really strong introduction, okay? So I have a question for you. What if I could offer you each $500,000? What would you say? No, you don't have to do anything illegal. Of course not. We're in school, right? But would you like to know how you could get that money? I sure would. So here's what you got to do. You got to graduate from high school. Studies show that people who graduate from high school will earn at least $500,000 or more in their lifetime than people who do not. Staying in school will determine whether or not you get the $500,000. So, did I get your attention? This is an example of one way to hook your audience by asking a question. It's a rhetorical question, meaning it draws your reader in wanting to read further to discover what the answer is to that question. So when you ask that interesting question, you should then at some point answer it in your essay. It should just not be some nonsense question that is just the easy way out. Okay. Or you could build upon with a series of questions that go together in regards to your topic. Okay. So here we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at some other examples. So this one says, have you ever wondered how you would survive if you found yourself alone in a jungle? How would you defend yourself against predators? What would you eat? Where would you find water? Read Swiss Family Robinson to see just how a family manages to survive. So those are examples of building questions that you would answer in your essay if you were doing this topic. Okay. Some things to avoid: meaningless questions. Don't want them. Don't ask the reader those. You want them to think about them critically. Like it should take them more than 10 seconds to come up with an answer or what they might say to your question. Okay. So some examples of meaningless questions are, do you like Christmas? Do you have a favorite season? Have you ever wondered why people have different traditions? Well, I'll tell you. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. Okay. Or like, do you know what racism is? Yes, everybody knows what racism is. So don't ask meaningless, silly questions. Okay. All right. So another technique is to share a personal experience in your introduction. So that personal story anecdote. So here's an example of one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. It was my first basketball game, and I had the ball with the clock ticking away. I was standing on top of the world. However, to get to that point, I had to go through pre-game jitters, the embarrassing shot, and the opponent's hard stares. Yes, it takes determination to succeed. Okay? So that's one example. All right. So let's talk about questions and narrating in a personal experience. So one, in the survival introduction, the writer gives the reader their topic before it's even introduced using questions. In the basketball introduction, the writer is pulled in by details of a story, and we're already kind of building that trust connection. Okay? All right, next we're going to talk about quotes. So you should know who this man is, Martin Luther King Jr., okay? And who thinks they know what's a phrase that this civil rights leader is famous for? You guessed it. I have a dream, okay? So you can open with a quote from a well-known person, and you have to put it in quotation marks, okay? You should not, you could use it from a non-famous person, like from a song or a movie, but I would stick with something that is reputable. So examples of some famous quotes: "A penny saved is a penny earned" by Ben Franklin. "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas." I don't know how that would relate to you, but again, that's just an example of a song lyric, okay? Student example of what it would look like written out. John F. Kennedy once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Americans have forgot about Kennedy's message today, and our country should take care of us, but we're not taking care of our country. So the only reason I don't like this example is because it has I and we. We are not using I or we, okay? All right, figurative language. So this was the one I talked about, is if you wanted to challenge yourself. So time flies when you're having fun. You can begin with a simile. That's a comparison using like or as. You can begin with a metaphor, a comparison stating one thing or another thing. You can begin with personification, giving non-living objects human characteristics, okay? And here are some additional examples that you can look at if you're interested. I am going to attach the slideshow for you, okay? All right, next is making a bold statement or a surprising fact. So here you're going to deal with statistics or facts that serve as a bold statement to emphasize your position. This should not be repeated then in your essay. It only serves the purpose of being in your introduction, okay? So a bold and challenging statement is similar to an announcement, but it's meant to cause people to disagree with what you say. It's like one side of an argument. It can be an opinion, but don't immediately state that it's your opinion, okay? So making a bold statement grabs the reader's attention. It also sets the tone for your essay with clear and concise thoughts, or I should say facts or statistics, okay? The other one that was an added one is a definition. So here's an example. According to Webster's Dictionary, government is defined as the authority that serves the people and acts on their behalf. How can the government know what the people want if the people do not vote? If we do not vote, the government may act on its own behalf instead of on the behalf of people. So part of it is a definition, part of it is the explanation of the definition and how it relates to this person's topic, okay? And you can get that from a reliable source like a dictionary or a textbook, okay? So hopefully you can see how these hooks are what is going to make your writing successful, but some of the following tips. Do not use the following phrases in this essay. I'm going to tell you about. I will write about. The first reason is. The second reason is. No, no, no. Tip 2. Do you notice a trend in this essay? I'm going to tell you about. I will write about. The first reason is. The second reason is. Do not use those phrases. And tip number 3, do not use the following phrases in this essay. I'm going to tell you about. I will write about. The first reason is. The second reason is. Hopefully you realize that that was the same tip 3 times because I can't say it enough. All right. So 6. Next tip, just remember you got to hook your reader. Okay. All right, so let's review the directions again. So the very first thing I want you to do is go to page 6 or slide 6, and you're going to read the paragraph, and you want to highlight the hook. Where is the hook in the paragraph? You're all very smart. I think you can figure it out. If it's the first thing we want to do to engage our reader, what does first mean? Okay. Second, you are going to now try it yourself. Hook option number 1, type it in the box. Your second hook option, and then your third. Remember, you can't repeat more than one. So I can't do a quote, and a quote. I can't do a question, and a question. It could be a quote, a question, and a statistic. Can it be a quote, and a statistic? No, not. You cannot repeat any type of hook. You have to do 3 different ones, okay? Then when that is done, you will go back to Schoology and there will be an assignment posted called How to Write a Hook, and you're going to give me 2 of the hooks that you like the best and submit them, okay? If you have any questions, Miss McCormick will be there to help you.